family is from the coal fields of West Virginia.
My mother was born and raised in this area.
My sister carried me here in I was 3 years old, so that would make it 1932. She carried me here.
When my mother was 8 years old, she could walk to West Nottingham to come to church and Sunday school, so she started here then.
We had a pre-Sunday school worship service, and that was in the chapel. And we had straight chairs that we sat on.
What they called the pie room, which was in back of what we called the chapel. I had Sunday school class back there, and that's where the younger ones were.
The Reverend Hitchman, who was a preacher then, and I can't spell the name for you, was very much interested in young people singing. And that was my first memory of singing, because he had us trying to sing even when we were small.
We had Sunday school in the middle of where Stephanie's office is now. We had a Sunday school class in the middle and one in all four corners. Most all the people belonged were either business people. The church at that time was either business people or farmers. And we had lots of, if I remember, we had a good many children.
I was like 14 when I joined. I remember he came to the house, talked to Mother. He was taking new members in on Mother's Day in May that year. So that's when I joined with some older members of the congregation.
We had a bus that was run by Mr. McCauley, Charles McCauley, and that was the reason we were here.
We had enough of children that we sponsored a bus, and Dink McCauley run the bus.
Sunday school picnics in August out where the playground is for child care and play school. We used to have Christmas parties with Santa Claus coming.
Do you know who played Santa Claus?
No.
It wasn't until we got to the new church school building that we had a place, for each level of class.
And I had Sally McKee's mother, Anna McKee, and we met in the Steele Memorial.
For a couple of times, he took those of us who didn't miss too many Sundays on trips. I remember he took us to Valley Forge, Philadelphia to Independence Hall. He took us to Mount Vernon.
Yeah, and we didn't have all the music we have now. We always had a choir. And we had a youth choir plus an adult choir.
When Betty Lippincott was here, was choir director, she knew somebody in Baltimore that was a director. And we had a community service doing the Messiah. And that probably, as a church function, and we had it here. And all the choirs in the community joined in because it was an outside directory, there's no rivalry or jealousies or anything like that.
We only had one piano, but I've always remembered that pipe organ. It's been here ever since I've been here.
That they had a small organ, but you had to pump bellows, and they would pay a little boy like 25 cents to pump the bellows so the organ could be played.
I think the building programs probably have been the biggest thing in my lifetime. Like I said, we started with no church school. We built a church school building, and then we had our big building campaign that gave us a hall and offices, which choir room, all that was needed.
We didn't have bathrooms, no inside plumbing, only running water. So we had a two-holer for the girls and two-holer for the boys. And I do remember, because I know they came to the farm to beg money to even though my parents didn't belong, I came here to Sunday school, so they came in the community and begged money to put the bathrooms in.
I've been church secretary. I've been organist. I've been a Sunday school teacher. I've helped with the youth group. I've been a deacon.
I also was on the board of trustees. And if you want an interesting picture in your mind, picture me up on the roof of this building, tied off of the rope to a big tree over here, picking bricks off the chimney because it was leaning
Oh, my.
like so. I threw it down the chimney.
Well, I taught Sunday school and I've been on session and I've always sang in the choir and I've always helped with suppers and
Then we had another organist, and then Flavia came back for a while, and when she stopped, I was asked to take over till they got another one. And one of the elders, Paul Humphrey, a music teacher in the public schools, took over directing the choir because Flavia had done both. It was supposed to be part till they got somebody. About 2 months later, after a session meeting, Paul Humphrey called me and said they want us to do it permanently. I said, if you'll do it, I'll do it. So I was the organist for about 19 years.
well, Claire, I mean,
Claire
after she
Tyson.
came in and pictured Johnny's wife, she was our youth leader for a long time and she went to Wilson College every year and studied youth group stuff. She led our youth group for a long time.
There were some people who, if they always had the same place in church. And if somebody happened to come in and take their seat before they got here, they did not like it.
The first time that he came, I was in the choir, of course, and after church he said to me, I don't know if I'll be, I said, how'd you like it or something? He said, I don't know whether I'll be back again or not. And I said, why? He said, well, some old guy come walking up the aisle, and he said, I didn't know he was walking up the aisle. He said, and all of a sudden he said, I got something poked in my side, and it was his cane. He said, buddy, you're in my seat.
Do you know who it was?
Horace McCombs.
You spent a long time at this church and seen a lot come and go, a lot of changes.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest change I've seen. So many families have come and gone.
When we have pastors and or members leave, that bothers me
Uh-huh.
for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, when Dr. Venable left, he had been here, I think, 26 years or something like that. And at that time, I was young enough, I thought he was going to stay forever, you know.
We've just always had an active church because we've had a lot of members.
I don't really think there's any difference. I mean, you know, some people would say this would be true then, it's not true now, but the services pretty much are the same.
I consider the members of the church my family.